Today I have an exclusive first look at the Fasquel Co 8x10 view camera. Live from WLFF Studios in Columbus, Ohio, I'm Matt Marrash. Thanks for joining us today in Large Format Friday. I'm going to be reporting about the L'Héritage, a new 8x10 camera from new player to the large format community, Fasquel Co. Fasquel Co is a very small two-person operation situated in the countryside of France with handmade artisanal parts. So the two folks behind Fasquel Co are Emilien Fasquel and Raphael Goutte. Raphael, is the one that I had my initial interview with and who came to North America to tour the camera. And he's definitely more on the film shooter side of things. He's actually a longtime FPP and LFF viewer, which is kind of cool. You know, you do something long enough and you realize, wow, yeah, there are people that started and, they watched the show or listened to somebody talk about cameras on a podcast. It's kind of cool to know that that's that kind of impact, but that's where he started. So he's still relatively new in the long spans, the generations of people shooting large format, but he's got a lot of passion for it. And he's paired up with Emilien, who is a master craftsman when it comes to woodworking, and he's really responsive to design and takes a lot of input and feedback from Raphael and the community at large. So in my initial interview with Raphael of Fasquel Co, it was a bit rushed because we didn't have a lot of time to get things together. Raphael was in the middle of his North American tour, and I was a midway stop between Rochester, New York at the Eastman House and Mr. Alex Soth himself. I did have a little bit of time to play around with the Fasquel 8x10, check out the movements, check out how everything felt, give my feedback to Raphael, as well as share with him my personal camera collection and things I wanted to see more out of a new boutique 8x10 camera. And I think that was a really special opportunity. It's not every day you get to talk hands-on with the creator of a new product and someone that actually cares about servicing the community as much as they do making a few extra bucks. Since my initial meeting and interview with Raphael, I've had some time to gather more media about the camera and some more facts that I can share with you at home. So the Fasquel Héritage camera has a minimum bellows extension of 65 millimeters. Alongside having a very short bellows, it also has a massive 820 millimeters of extension. That means you can work with a 600 millimeter lens and bring that into semi-portrait distance. Or if you're using a telephoto design lens, you can get near macro magnification with a 600 millimeter telephoto lens. That's pretty impressive stuff. You have a maximum front rise of 50 millimeters, a negative 85 millimeters fall. You are only limited by the bellows for tilt, and swing has 20 degrees on each side. On the rear standard, you have a back tilt of 20 degrees and a front tilt that is limited only by your bellows. It also has an impressive rear swing of 18 degrees. That doesn't sound like a lot, but a little bit goes a long way. The spring back is reversible, giving you portrait and landscape orientations. It uses a more modern Cynar Horseman lens board design, and at the time of recording, works with every single lens board I have, including the new Intrepid one. It comes with two tripod mounts, 1/4 inch and 3/8 mount available. You have a very nice ground glass with an integrated Fresnel, which means if there's no light that's hitting the ground glass directly, you might not need a dark cloth in all situations. Its closed size is 318 millimeters by 310 millimeters by 98 millimeters, which makes it ever so slightly smaller than the Deerdorf that they're comparing this to. And depending on the combination of woods that you're using, it's going to weigh anywhere from 3.9 to 4.1 kilograms, and that is including the Fresnel on there. This is a camera that is made with lightweight hardwoods, high quality metal components, handmade bellows and handmade ground glass by Fasquel Co, and a high quality Fresnel that's installed on every camera. When you bring that many high quality components together, you're gonna end up with something that is not a cheap camera. At the time of recording, these cameras have a launch price of between 3,900 euros and 4,700 euros. Lead time on these cameras, because they're a small company, is also pretty short. The max wait time is 4 weeks for construction and then shipping from France. These are made in the French countryside, so if you're in the EU, shipping times should be a little bit faster. If you're anywhere else in the world, it might take a little bit longer, but for a high-end, hand-constructed camera, that's not a bad lead time. So in my initial meetings with Raphael of Fasquel Co, I was so appreciative to see he brought not only one, but two of their pre-production units of the Héritage 8x10 camera. I got to have my hands on with one and even keep one overnight just to play with the different knobs and really see if I could see myself using this camera. The camera itself was not perfect, but as a pre-production model, I already liked it more than a lot of features that were present on the Tachihara that I've used for the last decade. It was a very lightweight camera, compact, had way more features than most people will ever need in an 8x10, from massively long 820mm bellows all the way down to a hyper wide angle 65mm bellows. It's made with high quality metals, hardwoods, handmade everything, so it's got all the right things going for it. But here's a couple things that they don't have going for them. They're a small company, they're young, and their product hasn't been on the market that long. So take everything I'm saying through the lens of, I'm excited, but I'm cautiously optimistic. We have to see how these things shake out over time. I'm not saying wait 20 years, but if you were already ready to drop $4,000 or more US on a high quality 8x10 that's used, this might be an option. This might be something you're in the market for. Or if you just want a camera that looks as good as it shoots, yeah, this is a pretty cool model. The whole reason they even started this North American tour was to get feedback from people that shoot cameras, sell cameras, and design cameras. They wanted to see how people felt about their camera, if they felt it was worth the price, what they would like to see more of, and they were actually making changes to the camera as we were chatting back and forth. That kind of constructive conversation isn't something that we, the end user, are always able to have with a company, but that is one advantage of a small company. Now, there are some disadvantages that come with that as well. Overhead costs tend to be higher. One of the big questions I asked Raphael is, why didn't Fasquel start with something much more manageable and small, like a 4x5 camera? And it really comes down to components. By the time you buy all the components and custom tooling that you will need to construct a rack and pinion style folding field camera, you're at about the cost of what you would expect for an 8x10 camera. So a 4x5 or 5x7 model of the Heritage camera would cost only a tiny bit less, and really that would just be eating into any sort of profit they could gain for themselves to keep the company going. I also really respect that they told us that, because many companies will say, I just wanted to make this. All right, let's ask the big elephant in the room. Is it worth the price? That's such a hard question for me to answer. I personally have never paid that much for an 8x10 camera. All of my stuff has either come gifted or really heavily used, and it's not fair for me to say, because yeah, I would shoot the camera, but would I spend my hard-earned dollars towards something like that? If something were to catastrophically happen to this camera and maybe my Cinar, I would be looking at something that would last a long time. I was a really big fan of the mahogany build with the brighter metal finishings and even that navy blue or that darker green bellows. It had quite the look to it. But I'm also a user and not a collector. I'm gonna beat the living tar out of whatever camera I have, and I could see that camera taking a little bit of a beating. And I didn't have a chance to do anything like shoot it in the rain or snow. I really only had time to set up a singular portrait of Mr. Raphael Goutte, who was so kind enough to stand for me out at 400 West Ridge. I want to thank Emilian and Raphael from Fascal Co for sharing with me all of their updates with the camera. I'm really excited for them. I wish them the best in the future. And it's really cool to see members of the film community getting in and producing things for the community themselves. It's definitely a high-end product. It's not going to be for everyone, and only time will tell how well this camera does. I think it's priced decently, it's very well made, and the two people behind it are incredibly passionate about providing a good-looking and high-quality product, and they're striking a very good balance. So what do you think of the Fasquel Co camera? Is it something that you would look at? Is it something that you would trade up to? Or if you're just getting into it, but you have that really, oh, I want the nicest thing there, is this a camera that's on your list? Let me know down below in the comments. I also recommend you check out the Linktree link in the description to find Fasquel Co's social media, as well as their official website once that's up there. That does it for LFF today. I appreciate you for stopping by, and yeah, here's to great new cameras in 2023 and beyond. See you next time.